Welcome to Stage 4, we are playing as Kimberly this time, and right out the gate, Kimberly is attacked by 4 merciless green putties. Thankfully, we defeated the first 2 by throwing one into the other, and we're defeating the second 2 by doing this. Assuming you can keep the rhythm up, this is way easier than trying to get both putties on a single side. For this screen, the purple putties spawn from that hole in the ceiling, so we're going to try and line up the remaining putties right in front of that hole, so we can kill all 3 of them at once with one combo. And now it's time for another laser drone. This one functions almost exactly the same as the others, with the big difference being that we cannot kill this one. To minimize the threat, we're going to throw the enemies off the screen and hit them while they're still not visible. Throwing them around and kicking them is definitely a lot easier on this screen, because just standing in the middle and doing combos like we normally would will inevitably get a shot with the laser, or hit by one of the putties while we're trying to move to avoid the laser. Not to mention that the green putties are useless if you throw them off the screen and just spam attack. We're going to repeat the same strategy here by throwing the putties around and trying to mostly keep them toward the edge of the screen. I do recommend you trigger the chandelier first like I did, otherwise it's liable to hit you later while you're trying to avoid the laser. On this next screen there's a health pickup, this one right over here. There's a health pickup under the chandelier, but even if you get hit by the chandelier, the health pickup will more than make up for that. After we kill the 2 purple putties, 2 green putties will spawn, and just like all the other green putties before them, we can easily knock them out of the air with a jump kick or toss them off the screen. It's a little bit harder since they spawned on opposite sides, but it's still a lot better than just standing in the center of the screen and using a combo. And on the last screen of the room, we want to trigger the chandeliers immediately, no exceptions, because otherwise we won't have any room to move. It's not like the chandeliers would deal a lot of damage, but this being the last screen of the room also has the benefit of all the enemies spawning on the left side, so we could easily completely annihilate them as I demonstrated. With the staircase, if you recall from the last video, I said it is not even remotely beneficial for the putties to have the upper ground, so we're going to make them have the upper ground by throwing them up there. Makes them a lot easier to kill. And then the screen on the other side of the staircase doesn't have a lot in it at all. The staircase isn't on the screen enough to play a huge part. And we got both the green putties on a single side, which means killing them should be even easier than normal. Then we have 2 brown putties who have the distinction of being able to throw their knives. And we're going to try and space it so we kill them at mostly the same time. So that way we can get the green putties to spawn at mostly the same time, and get into a rhythm doing this. Of course we could still deal with these guys even if we didn't do that, but it makes it a lot easier for me to be able to jump back and forth like an idiot. Now we have the red putties, which have the distinction of being able to throw their knives too. It's elevator time, but unlike most elevator sections in action games, this one's all about evasion instead of pounding hordes of bad guys. But presumably because the sprites are so big, they didn't go all that crazy with it, or even mildly crazy with it. You really just have to kinda waddle left and right. It's not even mandatory to duck under the laser blasts until later when they come down lower. So it's not particularly challenging, but I'm not sure how you could make it more challenging without making it bullshit. Because fighting enemies during this would... Wait, no, that might actually be a good idea. Yeah, why aren't there some enemies to fight during this segment? It wouldn't even be that difficult. And it would actually make dodging the hazards important. Anyway, eventually the elevator for some reason gets more and more beat up, and it comes to a slow stop so we can grab the pipe. And after that, it's time for some more vertically oriented platforming like back at Stage 2. And just like back there, we want to pay attention to what's directly above us before we jump up the bars. Unlike Stage 2, though, sometimes you need to plan a little bit further ahead even after you see what's coming, like right here. If we didn't jump immediately after we hopped up that bar, we would have gotten shot by that laser. And again, here we have to duck immediately. The next couple of hazards, though, are painfully easy because of what I assume is an oversight. You're capable of hitting these putties before you actually jump on the floor where they are, meaning you never have to deal with their laser guns in the first place. It can actually be a little hard to time these jumps properly if you don't kill them ahead of time, but you can kill them ahead of time, so there's no challenge factor there. Anyway, those are the last obstacles in this bizarre, unfinished elevator shaft. And on this screen, it's actually time for the putties to get some use out of these hanging bars, but unfortunately for them, we can use our bow to knock them off and into the pit. That removes 2 putties from the field of play immediately and stops you from being surrounded, forcing the enemies to only come from one side. Listen to me talking about Power Rangers like it's a fucking card game. Hey, remember these steel beams? No, you don't, because last time they were steel pipes, but they do exactly the same thing. For this screen, the steel beam is only on the right side, so we're just going to stay on the left the whole time, because anybody stupid enough to come from the right is just going to get hit by the beam. And down here in the center of these platforms, another screen clearing attack, but we're not going to use it on the boss because I promised we wouldn't. Up ahead we have to choose between a hanging bar or a precarious platform with a laser pointed at it. So of course we're going to take the bar. I'm not sure why you wouldn't. There's another staircase here, but more enemies come from the left than from the right, so it's not beneficial to throw them to the right. Instead we're just going to stay at the base of the staircase where the guy on the right can't even hit us. And we can deal with the guys coming at us from the left very easily because they are so slow and we have such a long range. Man, our health bars turn in like weird colored. Hey, it's time for a mini-boss. Yeah, that's kind of weird in this game, but here it is. This thing fires 2 types of scatter shots. It fires them above or below, depending on where it is on the screen. Unfortunately for you, when it's on the lower half of the screen, there's absolutely no way for you to even hit it. Normally I would use the screen clearing attack to remedy this, but I wanted to demonstrate how frustrating it is to be unable to hit this thing. The worst part is that it can stay down there as long as it wants. It's not programmed to come back up after a certain number of shots, it just comes back up whenever it feels like it, which may take a very long time. So even though it doesn't have that much health, it still slows down the stage's pacing immensely. Unless you're lucky and it stays on the upper half of the screen the whole time, but as you can see, we weren't very lucky here. I'm a little curious how an incredibly obvious design oversight like this didn't get caught in time. Now it's time to jump on a relatively tiny moving platform. If you're not used to the way the Power Rangers jump at this point, you might actually fall, which would be unfortunate because falling is instant death. And it would be really embarrassing to die to what appears to be incredibly rudimentary platforming, because it is incredibly rudimentary platforming. Also, I think this platform is timed in such a way that that laser cannon can never even hit you, which is kind of funny. Welcome to the boss fight against Genie, and he's quite a doozy. He has knives, fire breath, fireballs, magic mirrors, and laser dragons at his disposal. But it's also possible to stunlock him by just acting very quickly like you see here. The fireballs, to avoid those, we simply stand between him. The magic mirrors we want to destroy before they can fire their giant lasers. And the dragons we need to simply jump over all the way up to the top floor. The swords are the real hard ones. They shoot out at 4 separate angles, and it is possible to jump over them if you jump all the way to the top floor, just like with the dragons. But they shoot a lot faster than the dragons, so there's not as much time to react. On top of that, they usually shoot from top to bottom instead of bottom to top like the dragons. But you can still jump diagonally after 2 of them have already fired, stand underneath them so none of them can even hit you, or smack one of them by timing your combo properly. All of those work. You just need to have exceptionally good timing to pull them off, but the options are there.